So today I want to talk about leaf reduction. I had a question just last week, somebody asking about why their leaves were larger now that they started fertilizing than they were when they bought it from the bonsai nursery where they bought it. And there's a number of reasons why you might get long leaves, but I just kind of want to go over the basic structure of a tree to explain why you're going to get longer branches or larger leaves and what can influence that to make your tree have a different kind of look and what you can do to promote smaller leaves and shorter growths. The way a branch grows is you have nodes and internodes. Nodes are where the leaves actually come out. This is the node. In between that is called the internode. And the way that develops is based upon how much sunlight the tree is getting. A tree in the shade is going to have a much longer internode than a tree in full sun. The reason for that is the branch is trying to reach further in between actually putting out leaves. So it's going to send out a longer shoot in between, or a longer internode before it starts to develop leaves again. So if you want to promote shorter internodes, you want to give it a little bit more sun. Now keep in mind it really depends on what kind of tree, because you can't put a tree that likes shady or filtered sunlight in full sun and expect it to live. It's going to the leaves won't be able to handle it. But if your leaves can't handle it and it's a tree that normally is in full sun, get it out in the full sun and you're going to get a much shorter internode, which means your branches are going to be smaller, more condensed, and a lot better finished product. And again, the way you also work to condense those trees too, and I've told this in previous videos, was make sure you take out that terminal bud. What that does is that forces the growth to go back into the tree, and instead of growing out the end, now you're going to get more internodes or more nodes of where your leaves will actually develop. Look at it like a garden hose. If you take a garden hose and just start putting holes in it, it'll sprout very long streams of water with just a few punctures in the hose. But when you put multiple, the streams of water start to come down a little bit less. It's the same process with this. The more leaves you have on a branch, the smaller the leaves are going to be, because it can only put so much food to that branch to support those size leaves. So what you're trying to do is get more ramification or more branching within that branch, so that it produces more leaves but smaller leaves. When you have far and few between, you're going to get much larger leaves as well. Fertilizing also can influence the size of your tree. The first number is your shoots, which is your plant growth. So a high first number is going to give you more energy going towards the developing branches or developing leaves. So kind of keep that in mind too. If you bought a tree from a nursery that didn't really fertilize, the first time you start fertilizing that tree, you're going to see a lot larger leaves and a lot more development than what you're probably used to. Now, if you take a look at the node itself, you'll see that there's leaves, and then right in between the internode and the node is a small little, either a bud or just a small little nub. What that is that's the next leaf ready to come out. If this leaf is pulled off, this one's going to grow. But the way that we reduce these is, if you pull this leaf off, the next leaf is going to come out, but it's going to be a third smaller than this leaf. When you do it again, it's going to be a third smaller yet. So what happens is you can reduce a full-size leaf, which is very similar to this size, but as you start to reduce it, your full-size leaf is going to be more like this size. So you can already see how much of a reduction that's going to be just by defoliating it. And what we do is also, during the growing season, in Florida we can do this maybe 3 or 4 times, but what we do is we defoliate the trees after the first flush comes in, get some energy to the tree. We then go in and pull the leaves off, and when we remove the leaf, we don't just yank them out, because you don't want to damage that secondary leaf that's ready to come out. You just want to pull it off at the end of the stem, so that way the tree is going to recognize it doesn't have that leaf there anymore, and it's going to put energy to this leaf so that it fills in. And we do that a number of times. What you do is you actually get a number of growing seasons that way. It reduces the size of the leaf, but also it's like another growing season, which means you're going to get more ramification and bring the tree in closer and much fuller, and that's what you're trying to do. Also keep in mind that there's some trees that are better at bonsai than others. It really depends on what the nature or the natural size of the leaf is. You don't want to start with a leaf that's enormous and expect it to be into a bonsai size, but there are some that can be reduced very, very well and can be brought down in size without too much effort. You can always check my website, orlandobonsai.com, or send me an email or a comment to this message, Please, if you do enjoy these videos, make sure that you do subscribe so that you don't miss out on any new videos that I put out. And I really appreciate you checking in. If you have any ideas for other questions you might have that I could do a video on, please feel free to let me know. Thanks so much.